Good evening, Patriots. This is Praying Medic. It is Wednesday, March 13th. We are at T-6 and counting in Q's 21-day countdown. And this is my broadcast on Q with the theme, It's About to Happen. I apologize for the lateness of this video, but Q has been posting like crazy. And a lot of things that need research. So I'm a little bit late on this, but thank you for hanging in there and waiting for me. All right. We had this post from Q on March 9th. And Q gave us 4 points to consider with 4 links. And those 4 points are in brackets. And this is talking about Andrew McCabe launching an investigation against Jeff Sessions is the first point. So there's a link to a Paul Sperry tweet. And Q asked Sessions' Senate vote was 52 to 47, his confirmation vote. What was Rosenstein's Senate vote? 94 to 6. Do you target your enemies or your allies? Why was Sessions targeted? Who appointed Huber? That was Sessions. Who had direct access over Huber? That was Sessions. Deputy AG also listed for optics. Who really had direct oversight over Huber? We know that was Sessions. No leaks, none. Who fired and removed the traitors within the FBI, Department of Justice? That would be Sessions. Do you believe the timing is a coincidence? Now, the second thing, there's a link to a tweet by U.S. Attorney John Huber. Q notes several things that were in the tweet. Clear vision for the Department of Justice, hold offenders accountable, advance the rule of law. Do you believe the timing is a coincidence? Number 3, and all these are in brackets, is a tweet by the 2020 Republicans. Q asked, do you believe it? The timing is a coincidence. And then number 4 is a link to a series of documents. We'll cover those in just a minute. Q asked, do you believe the timing is a coincidence? And then we have in brackets, -21, Q. So let's look at all that information. All right. Tweet from Paul Sperry. Breaking McCabe, Andrew McCabe, former FBI Deputy Director, investigated not just Trump but Sessions too, ordered the Sessions probe, was another unprecedented partisan action that has been forgotten, said former federal prosecutor Solomon Weisenberg, partner at Nelson Mullins in Washington. So Q's point here is, why would Andrew McCabe order investigation into Jeff Sessions if Jeff Sessions was a swamp dweller? All right, the second, Nisanon said POTUS's Twitter battering of Sessions has all been part of a show. Sessions is a patriot. We know that that's true. On November 14th of 2017, this was 2 weeks into Q's mission, Q wrote this really key post. How do you capture a very dangerous animal? Talking about the deep state. Do you attack it from the front? Do you walk through the front door? Do you signal ahead of time that you're going to be attacking? How do you distinguish between good and bad? And then down below, what show is being put on by AG Sessions since his confirmation? What show is being put on by POTUS since AG Sessions' confirmation? Why was Sessions' confirmation challenged heavily? Why was Rosenstein's confirmation smooth and easy? It's because Congress knew Sessions was a patriot, and they believed Rosenstein was compromised like them. Then down below, Q wrote, why would sealed indictments be outside of DC jurisdiction? What purpose would this serve? So in November 14th, 2017, about the same time that Sessions appointed Huber to investigate DC corruption, Q was telling us about that. And then I think it was in March of the following year, 2018, when Sessions publicly announced that Huber had been appointed to investigate corruption. All right, this is the tweet from U.S. Attorney Huber. U.S. attorneys thoroughly enjoyed our time with AG Barr this week. U.S. attorneys, including Huber, went to D.C. to visit with the incoming Attorney General, William Barr, last week. And this tweet was on Friday. He is a solid, proven leader with a clear vision for the DOJ. We will move forward with his priorities, hold offenders accountable, and advance the rule of law. I've been following Huber on Twitter for a while. He tweets occasionally, but nothing very significant. It's all things of minor importance. This is the first time he's tweeted anything really significant that I've seen since I've been following him. So Q asked, do you believe the timing of Huber making his public statement is a coincidence? No one has been able to get any information on the types of cases Huber's team has been working on since Sessions appointed him. There have been no leaks. Suddenly, I think this was about a week ago, an article was published that actually looked inside the goings-on of Huber's U.S. Attorney's Office in Salt Lake. And this, again, let's say the first time that anything has come out of publicly about what Huber and his people are doing. And this talks about violent criminals, pedophiles, the types of cases that are being prosecuted by Huber's team. And Q has suggested that even though this looks like it is strictly concerning Utah, Q said, think the scope. We know that Huber's scope is national. So Q has been telling us, look, this information is coming out about Huber now because it's going to be time soon for these indictments to be unsealed. Okay, let's see. All right, Trump 2020 Republicans had this tweet. It's a video from Hannity, who said people will be held accountable as new evidence surfaces on multiple fronts. Again, Q asked, do you believe that timing is a coincidence? Hannity has pretty regularly now, last 3 or 4 nights, been warning everyone the hammer is about to drop. And then Q posted a link to a Department of Justice FOIA response, Freedom of Information Act, to American Oversight about instructions that were given to U.S. Attorney Huber from Jeff Sessions. And this was back when he was first appointed. The letter from the Department of Justice to American Oversight is dated March 8th. And it includes information that saying that the DOJ just found this information on a search of its database, and it's information that it requested previously. It has to do with Matt Whitaker and a letter he sent to U.S. Attorney Huber. All right. In that response is this letter. It's from Jeff Sessions, and it talks about the assignment that Sessions gave to Huber. This letter was dated November 22nd, 2017. And then there is an original, this copy of a letter that was sent from Associate Attorney General Stephen Boyd to Bob Goodlatte, explaining senior federal prosecutors had been assigned to investigate matters that Goodlatte and other Congress members had brought to them when they asked for a second special counsel. Boyd let them know, we have senior federal prosecutors working on this. And then there was one more thing that was included in that set of documents, and it is an email header that is from Matt Whitaker to U.S. Attorney Huber. The subject is a letter from Attorney General. There's a couple of attachments, and then down below it says, as we discussed, M.W. Matt Whitaker. So Q linked to that, and the FOIA request was made in November of 2017. The letter to Huber was not released to the organization that asked for it until March 8th. Q asked, do you believe the timing of the release of that letter is a coincidence? All right, so we're going to just shift gears here. Paul Sperry reported Andrew McCabe launched an internal FBI investigation after learning someone had leaked to Sarah Carter and John Solomon the fact that he talked trash about General Flynn. This is a tweet. And McCabe wanted to know who leaked the information about his threats against General Flynn to Sarah Carter and John Solomon. Well, Sarah Carter replied, well, I heard rumors. So Q linked to Sarah Carter's tweet and then reposted a previous drop from December of 2017. Why are Sarah and John getting all the real scoops? Expand your thinking. Why are they now under protection? Q. And then Q wrote more recently, define protection. Q. Well, Q has told us that these people really are being threatened, and they are under protection for a reason, because the deep state wants to silence them. Q has actually said, if it wasn't for Hannity, Solomon, and Sarah Carter, we would know very little. The public would get very little information about what's really happening. All right, this is an old post from Q where Q talked about we have it all, and they even knew that members of the FBI, McCabe, Peter Strzok, Lisa Page, were using game comms, Gmail drafts, things of that nature. So McCabe should have known that military intelligence had his information. And Anon posted a Zero Delta. Q and the president tweeted and posted at the same time. Actually, the president tweeted 31 seconds after Q posted this post. And the president's tweet was, "It's just the beginning." There have been 19 that I can remember. I'm trying to keep track of all this. I think there's been 19 times when Q and the president have posted at the same time. Q writes, statistically impossible. Just about. All right. On the 9th, Q posted this tweet by the president, treason. This is from September 5th. And Q writes, it's about to happen. Be vigilant. All right. So it is about to happen. And this was on March 10th, it was T-9. So like I said, I'm getting caught up. Then Q wrote, sealed, unsealed, indictments coming. Q. Indictments are indeed coming. All right. Let's see. George Papadopoulos tweeted out, people do understand that the guys the book was thrown at, me, Manafort, and Flynn, had FISAs on them. That's correct. People do know that. Q Q linked to Papadopoulos' tweet and wrote, Patriots stand at the ready and prepared for what is about to come, the Great Awakening, Q. And this is a previous post where Q explained how the deep state set up people like Papadopoulos, Manafort, Carter Page, tagged him with some kind of a Russian spy, and then accused him of being Russian spies themselves, and then issued a FISA warrant, surveilled them, and then entered them into the Mueller investigation to keep them quiet. All right. The Daily Beast picked up on the story that Matt Whitaker had delivered to John Huber, that letter authorizing his office to investigate the Clinton Foundation and Uranium One. And they pretty well had a conniption fit about it. They were not happy because the DOJ had previously scanned their database and said there was no such letter. And on March 8th, they suddenly found the letter that they had asked for. So Q linked to the Daily Beast Twitter status, and of course the Daily Beast said they had an exclusive story here about all of this. Q writes, exclusive, 1.5 years behind Anon's. Q. Again, we have known this for a long time. So Anon posted a Moab incoming, mother of all bombs. Q wrote, Anons understand now why we've been targeted daily by the fake news, media, and shills. Today they are learning the truth. You have been prepared for what is about to take place. Dark to light. Enjoy the show. Q. And this Anon, best show on earth. And this Anon wrote, Anons knew this day would come. What a great time to be alive. Where we go one, we go all. All right. This Anon said it's showtime, ladies and gents. It is indeed showtime. Denise and I are so excited. It's just, I can't really tell you how excited we are. So MSN picked up the story about Whitaker's letter to John Huber instructing him to investigate Uranium One and the Clinton Foundation. And Q just posted some quotes from that article. It strains credulity to believe that the Justice Department didn't know about this letter when they swore under penalty of perjury that it didn't exist. You don't exactly forget about A formal directive to investigate Hillary Clinton signed by Jeff Sessions, he added. The fact that they only found it the same week Matthew Whitaker was heading for the exit makes it hard to see DOJ's previous denial as anything but a deliberate attempt to conceal. And Q writes, this is another quote, Sessions and Whitaker shouldn't escape accountability by skipping town. And then Q writes, Scaramucci model, how do you keep a secret? How do you prevent leaks? Q. Right, so the DOJ may have conveniently not been able to find that letter because they needed to keep the investigation leak-proof. If that story would have leaked, the deep state would have found out that they were investigating Clinton Foundation Uranium One, they would have found a way to sabotage the investigation. So they did what they had to do. Okay, Q has previously informed us that Nellie Orr worked for the CIA. In 2018, a lot of former CIA agents ran for Congress, and Q posted this. It's a link to an article by the Washington Post about a number of CIA agents, former ones, who ran for Congress. Q wrote Nellie Orr with a little arrow pointing to the CIA. We know she previously did work for the CIA. There are others within FBI, DOJ, and linked to the CIA. It's a link to the Washington Post article. What access does a House member have? What access does a House committee member have? Think Brennan, spy campaign, U.S. Senate. What happens when the CIA targets, in brackets, spy insertion, the executive, House, Senate, DOJ, FBI, State Department, etc., branches of the U.S. government? How many so-called former CIA agents ran for the House elections in 2018? I counted, there was a lot of them. There was actually, I think, well, there was, I don't want to misquote, there's a lot of them who former CIA agents who ran for Congress. And Q has previously said, once a clown, always a clown, so it's very difficult to leave the CIA. Q asked what party. D, what happens when CIA targets, in brackets, spy plus tech insertion of Google, Facebook, in brackets, LifeLog, we know they're the same thing, Twitter, etc. Link to an article about Zuckerberg in his conference room having a secret panic shoot. What happens when people wake up to the fact that Facebook is a cover for LifeLog and DARPA? And so there's the article when ex-spies go rogue and become lawmakers. And continuing with this post from Q, it's a long post, I cut it up into two sections. What happens when people discover all real-time data, including inputs, in brackets, plus listening, camera, GPS, and metadata is being harvested and made accessible to Langley? What do you think people are going to say? How are they going to react when they find out that Facebook, Twitter, Google has been giving CIA all of our information, where we are, what we do, all of our conversations? What is a charter of the NSA? Domestic and foreign. What is a charter of the CIA? Foreign only, not domestic. It's forbidden by law. Why is the CIA conducting an active umbrella collection campaign? And in brackets, stringer tangents to 9. I think Q is saying there that if you do the different hops and collect information on individuals who are tangents, it goes out to 9 degrees. That's a lot of people. That's pretty much everybody, I think. And against all U.S. citizens through LifeLog, Facebook, absorb tangent targeting. Bypass data encryption on phones and tablets. Q has talked about that previously. If you have encryption programs like Signal and Telegram, they have the ability to bypass all of that. Is the primary focus elected officials? Primary focus on elected officials and key subcommittees. There have been several articles out that talk about how they seem to be targeting iPhones primarily, and they believe it's because a lot of politicians, primarily, mostly of them, carry iPhones. Can activation occur of recording local on device pre-entry into a SCIF? That would be very interesting. No logs, no keys, ghost in, ghost out. I believe ghost in, ghost out is just another way of saying there are no logs and no keys are kept. People only engage security plus escape vehicles when they have something very serious to fear. What is that fear for Mark Zuckerberg? Q. Well, according to this article that Q linked to, Zuckerberg has some very interesting stuff going on. He has taken a number of measures to protect himself, including a Praetorian Guard, implemented in case an employee tries to rush him when he's at a meeting, a panic chute. There's a sheet of bulletproof glass in a conference room that he can get behind in the event of an emergency. Apparently he has another panic chute at his house. And so he's taking all these, he has this personal driver with the security team monitoring traffic and adjusting the route if needed. All of his doctors and people that he visits with are all, they have a pretty thorough background check they do on them. Why does Zuckerberg take all these precautions? Well, it's because he has a lot to be afraid of. All right. Q asked about members of Congress and whether they need a security clearance. They do not. Some committee members are required to take an annual oath, but there are no laws requiring security clearances for members of the House or the Senate. Even if you're on the Intelligence Committee, you don't need to have a security clearance. That gives you access to all kinds of classified information. And if you're someone like Adam Schiff, you can get that classified information and you can selectively leak that to people that you want to have that information. All right. Q highlighted Sarah Carter's tweet and article featuring Nancy Pelosi, who insists the voting rights of newcomers to America must not be suppressed. And then Q writes, the real reason they want open borders, follow the maps. Q had posted a map that Anand did, and it overlaps, showing Democrat strongholds in the 2016 election and states that allow driver's licenses for illegal immigrants. There's a high correlation between them. Q writes, illegal immigrants first, Americans last. They're afraid of losing power forever, in brackets. They should be. Welcome to the D Party, Q. And Stacey Dash retweeted Super Elite Texans video of this man who is a Trump supporter. He is talking about why he believes Donald Trump is a great president. As an African American, he talks quite a bit about the great things that Trump has done and how he has been vilified by a lot of people who know him. So Q posted a link to that tweet. The Great Awakening, attempts to divide will fail. Patriots have no skin color. Q. Then there's this video, very similar. This is a woman who is talking about her support of Trump and how he is doing a great job and a lot of the same things. And she gets a lot of pushback from people because she is a Trump supporter. Q, again, linked to that tweet. The Great Awakening, attempts to divide will fail. Patriots have no skin color. Q. Okay, the monthly NSA puzzle from May of 2018 was based on the film War Games. And it's kind of a tic-tac-toe game. Q posted a link to that website and wrote, shall we play a game? How many tweets has POTUS forwarded in the past 12 hours? Primary topics, March Madness. Do you have your brackets filled in? Q. All right. So I just grabbed all the tweets that the president had retweeted over the previous 24 hours. Chuck Ross had this tweet, Dark Money Group gave $2 million to Democracy Integrity Project, an organization that hired Fusion GPS and Chris Steele to bolster the dossier in the Trump-Russia narrative. President retweeted Tom Fitton a couple of times. This one is about Judicial Watch uncovering Department of Justice documents showing numerous Bruce Orr communications with Clinton, DNC, Fusion GPS, Christopher Steele, Glenn Simpson. And then Lindsey Graham was touring the Gaza terror tunnel. David Friedman tweeted about that, and the president retweeted it. This is a retweet by Lindsey Graham of the president retweeted Lindsey Graham's tweet, and this is about judicial nominees that he's working on. The president retweeted Mitch McConnell. House Resolution 1 is a blatant power grab to give Washington bureaucrats control over what American citizens can say about politics. Then there's the president retweeted Paul Sperry. Border Patrol says after physical barriers were erected in San Diego and El Paso sectors, as well as Yuma and Tucson, they saw reductions in illegal border crossings of 95 to 99%, but that those barriers need to be expanded. The president retweeted Paul Sperry again. Even Mueller's case against Russia itself for interfering in the 2016 election is breaking down. He retweeted this Tom Fitton tweet, "The real collusion scandal. Why haven't Hillary Clinton and her lawyers been questioned about their collusion with Fusion GPS?" Another Tom Fitton tweet, House Dem says Cohen likely to face Department of Justice perjury investigation. And then another Tom Fitton tweet about asking Adam Schiff why there's another ethics scandal going as a result of his and his staff colluding with Cohen on his testimony. And then Paul Sperry tweeted about Schiff, who seemed to be coaching Cohen during his before his testimony, and the president retweeted that. Then there was another Tom Fitton tweet, so you get the idea. Q asks, what is the major subject the president's been tweeting about? And it's mostly about Russian collusion stories. And we're filling in some brackets here for some of the likely suspects who are going to be going down. Somebody actually did a meme here they did an entire bracket of people that they believe are going to be going down in March Madness. Q gave Jordan Sather a shout out for the article that he posted about the CIA's venture capital firm InQtel, which, as it turns out, is investing a lot of money in companies that are able to mine data through Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter. So Q posted a link to Jordan's status and wrote, "Why did Snowden only attack the NSA?" Actually, I have an little article here, but Snowden said he released the NSA's spy tools because the NSA's information is about systems and computers, while the CIA's information is about people. And Snowden didn't want to release information about specific individuals. So that was his excuse. Q writes, where did Snowden work prior to NSA? That was the CIA. Why did Snowden pick Russia as his safe place? What events occurred directly after the release of the NSA packs? How do you avoid data privacy laws? Charter of the NSA, charter of the agency. DARPA is LifeLog, which is Facebook. Define surveillance state. A surveillance state is a country where the government engages in pervasive surveillance of large numbers of its citizens and visitors, matters of national security. Is an accepted reality. Why was the NSA targeted? Why was the agency protected and sheltered? So all of this is to say that the Snowden leaks were designed to hurt the credibility of the NSA, to give the CIA preeminence. CIA monitors us through Facebook and Twitter because they can't do it legally through domestic. They have no charter to do domestic surveillance. All right, this is an article in the New York Times about how the NSA's really kind of been shaken morally, and their image has been tarnished by the leaks. The tone of the article, of course, definitely suggests that the New York Times has an agenda to discredit and demoralize the NSA. Q posted to that a link to that article, and at Snowden Parades or Restraints 2019, Q has previously indicated that they're negotiating for Snowden's return home, and that he is going to be extradited. And Q says it'll probably happen in 2019, which is in brackets. All right, let's go to the next one. So we had this tweet from the president. This was from March of 2017, so 2 years ago. Actually, almost exactly 2 years ago. Q reposted that tweet, and this is where the president said, terrible, just found out that Obama had my wires tapped in Trump Tower just before the victory. Nothing found. This is McCarthyism. Q said the President of the United States told you who authorized the targeting. Q. Obama. This is going to become relevant in the next week. Q is pointing the laser pointer at Obama in his most recent posts, and those will be coming up in the next 2 videos. As soon as I'm done with this video, I have to do another one, and then I have to do a 3rd one, so I'll get all of this covered, but Q is definitely highlighting Obama as time goes on. All right, let's see. After Snowden reached Hong Kong, this is an article on The Guardian. He mused about the fact that there was a CIA station up the road, and he claimed that the CIA may want to harm him, but in reality, he was a CIA asset. A lot of this, I think, was just obfuscation to confuse people. All right, we talked about that. Q posted this, connect the dots. Snowden released code words about the NSA keys. Snowden travels to Russia. Shadow brokers released the actual code, NSA keys. Shadow brokers originated in Russia. Can you make the connection why Snowden went to Russia? Can you make the connection who provided the source code to shadow brokers? Define spook, define shadow. Do spooks hide in the shadows? Stand strong, Gina. Q. All right, so Gina is a reference to Gina Haspel, CIA director. This is all, I think, Q is implicating the CIA behind all of this. That they sent Snowden into the NSA to get the programs, get the information in the programs, and leak the information. I think Q is suggesting that the shadow brokers were also backed by the CIA, and the release of the actual programs by the shadow brokers was also CIA. And I'm going to cover that here because I did a ton of research, and well, you can learn about the shadow brokers. In August of 2016, 3 years after Snowden released his information on the NSA, their spy tools, X-Keyscore and Prism, and there was a 3rd program, I can't remember the name of it. The shadow brokers then, in 2016, dumped executable NSA programs onto the internet. It's kind of important to remember, Snowden didn't actually dump the programs, the files. He gave us the information. The shadow brokers began dumping the software that could actually be used. The data files were mostly 0-day exploits, which are programs that take advantage of software defects. These specific programs were designed to exploit firewall and router products from Cisco and other companies. The shadow brokers claimed that their files came from the NSA's Tailored Access Operations, TAO, which is an elite hacking unit that develops and deploys some of the world's most sophisticated software exploits, making those files worth a lot of money on the black market. Shadow brokers could have made a lot of money, but they didn't. The August release was a sample of some of the files that the shadow brokers claimed to have. They set up an online auction and said if 1 million bitcoins were pledged, they would release their entire arsenal of files. But the auction drew very little interest. I think the highest the bid went was like 1.5 bitcoins. So 5 months later, in January, after the auction failed, shadow brokers, in what they said would be their farewell, released more hacking tools. These exploits affected mostly older version of Microsoft Windows. And why older versions of Windows? Because the files were taken in 2013. The NSA was able to figure that out around the time that Snowden left the NSA. So this anon wondered, if it took 3 years for the shadow brokers to release NSA code after Snowden went to Russia, what's up? Why did they wait so long? And that's a really good reason, or I'm sorry, good question. Because if they were true hackers, they could have either used that information at the time in 2013, they could have hacked a lot of places, a lot of different organizations. They could have gotten into banks, they could have stolen money, and perhaps did. But they waited 3 years to release these files publicly. And the question is why? So in April of 2017, now this is 4 months later, after the U.S. missile strike on Syrian airbase, the shadow brokers came out of retirement and released more codes to NSA files, and they claimed it was because the president was betraying his base, and they tried to sound like patriots. But a lot of what the shadow brokers have written in their posts seems to be LARPing, if you ask me. Okay. The April 2017 release included tools used by the NSA to hack the SWIFT financial system. The SWIFT financial system is a financial electronic system that takes care of electronic transfers and payments between a lot of banks in Asia and Europe. And I would imagine the NSA used this exploit on SWIFT to monitor financial transfers looking for payments to terrorist organizations. That would be a legitimate use, a reason to hack into a system and observe it. Well, that was one of the tools that was released. And that's an article about SWIFT. All right. In September of 2017, so 5 months later, shadow brokers then released, as part of their monthly subscription service, they had set up this service where you can pay a certain amount of cryptocurrencies each month and get a subscription. In September's monthly dump, United Rake was a software program that came out, a fully executable remote collection system that enabled attackers to remotely take over full control of a targeted Windows computer if it was operating on one of these older Windows, like Windows XP or Windows Vista. All right. So I want to take a quick look at who could be behind the shadow brokers. Despite evidence suggesting that the culprit was an NSA insider, Wired magazine wrote this article, and they said it's obviously Russian hackers. All right. And the more I read Wired magazine, the more I just think this is a total clown CIA operation. And I would say the same about the Daily Beast. Daily Beast also fingered Russian hackers as the culprits behind the shadow brokers, despite evidence that it was probably an NSA insider. Okay, so let's see. The key players behind the Freedom of the Press Foundation and SecureDrop all died except for Kevin Paulson, who wrote this article for the Daily Beast. Paulson is a tech writer now. He works for the Daily Beast. Okay. All the other people who were involved in the startup of SecureDrop, which was formerly DeadDrop, died unexpectedly. James Dolan died of suicide. Aaron Swartz died of suicide. And John Perry Barlow died of heart problems. Kevin Paulson turned over SecureDrop to Freedom of the Press Foundation, and then he went to work as a senior national security reporter for the Daily Beast, focusing on Russian hacking stuff. Okay, so marching forward. In 2016, NSA contractor Harold Martin was arrested for possessing 50 terabytes of classified information he had allegedly stolen from the NSA. He was actually a contract worker. He was working for Booz Allen, and he was contracted with the NSA. It is believed that Martin possessed 75% of the NSA's tailored access operations hacking tools. This article on The Atlantic, I just might take a look at it, by Bruce Schneier, did a great job of eliminating likely suspects in the shadow brokers hacking spree. He goes through kind of an analysis of who are the shadow brokers, what is and isn't known about this mysterious hacking group. All right, and he comes down to the conclusion that it's likely to be one of two possibilities. The first is that it was Harold Martin. He was the NSA contractor who was arrested in August for hoarding agency secrets in his house for 2 years. Actually, I think his hoarding of NSA programs went back 15 years. And he notes that he couldn't be the publisher because he was already in custody, but that somebody obviously may have gotten a hold of that information and would have been the leaker. All right. And he says that is the most likely suspect. Well, I think there's even more reason to believe that it was Martin. While attempting to trace the source of the shadow broker's leak in the summer of 2016, the FBI was alerted by the NSA to Twitter communications between Martin and the Russia-based Kaspersky Labs. Martin was claiming to have information about NSA hacking tools, and he was doing this on Twitter. So the Twitter communications between Martin and Kaspersky happened just before the shadow brokers publicly announced they'd stolen NSA hacking tools. So with the timing of Martin's communications on Twitter with Kaspersky, the FBI requested a search warrant for Martin's home, and a judge granted the warrant believing Martin was likely to be involved with the shadow brokers, and this is what from this article. The court's documents show that the August 2016 raid on Martin's home was prompted by some Twitter messages that Martin posted suggesting he had knowledge about the NSA's hacking tools. Twitter messages are posted shortly before the shadow brokers publicly leaked the first set of tools and announced their intention to auction off the rest. And the judge gave the FBI the search warrant because he believed it was likely that Martin was connected to the shadow brokers. Okay, so let's see. The NSA and FBI haven't said that Martin is connected to the shadow brokers, at least not publicly. All right, so Q wrote, why did Snowden release the code words in Russia? Why did the shadow brokers release the executable files from there? Who gave the source code to the shadow brokers? Define spook. Do spooks hide in the shadows? Stand strong, Gina. So I suspect that Martin was probably put up to this by the CIA. It's just a hunch. I don't have any whole lot of evidence, but it seems like everything that's being done to discredit and hurt the NSA, it all goes back to the CIA, right? So Q puts in there stand strong, Gina, at the end, which Gina Haspel is the CIA director. So that is kind of my working theory right now. We do know from Q, and again, I've mentioned this previously, Q has indicated that the CIA is too dirty to be cleaned and it's going to be dismantled. And this is a post from Q on November 9th of 2017. Closing act dismantled, impossible to clean. Operations will be transferred to no such agency. CIA is in brackets here. That's where you get CIA out of this closing act. Okay, Q posted this. Who is the agency director, CIA, from 2012 to 2016? Agency director is in brackets. John Perry Barlow is in brackets. How did we know prior to Q? So John Brennan was agency director. And I think Q here is suggesting that Brennan had something to do with John Perry Barlow's death. Q wrote this. This is an old post from January 27th, 2018. Snowden, the clock is ticking. How's Russia, Mr. Contractor? Freedom of the press, John Perry Barlow. Secure drop, whistleblowers. Secure drop, clowns in America. Nobody is safe, Q. This is when Q was telling us that Freedom of the Press, which had taken over control of Secure Drop, which was supposed to be a secure messaging system for whistleblowers in the intelligence community to get information to people in the press, had been actually taken over by the CIA. All right. On the right-hand side, Q writes John Perry Barlow post on January 27th. John Perry Barlow dead February 8th, 2018. Reconcile. This is not a game. Q. Now, a lot of people have pointed out John Perry Barlow actually died on February 7th, not February 8th. I'll explain the discrepancy here in just a minute. I was confused. I had to wait for Q to give us more information. So this is a Wikipedia entry, and it shows that John Perry Barlow did die on February 7th in his sleep. That unknown really what happened, but they said that he had heart problems. We know he had heart problems. He had had previous heart attacks. All right. Q then reposted 2 previous posts, one from January 27th of 2018 and one from February 7th. The January 27th post, Q wrote, heart attacks can be deadly. And then February 7th, the day that John Perry Barlow died, Q posted again, heart attacks can be deadly. Now, for those of you who don't know, in the 70s, it was revealed to Congress that the CIA had a dart gun that could kill a person and make it appear as if they had a heart attack. Q posted this link to a tweet by Snowden. Actually, I should show you that tweet first. It is right here. This is a post by Snowden, May 17th of 2018, right after Trump nominated Gina Haspel for CIA director. Snowden wrote, Gina Haspel participated in a torture program that involved beating an innocent pregnant woman's stomach, anally raping a man with meals he tried to refuse, and freezing a shackled prisoner until he died. She personally wrote the order to destroy 82 tapes of CIA torture. Going back here, Q posted a link to that tweet and is basically talking to Snowden. Banking on Hillary to win? You never thought you would lose. Banking on Brennan to bring you home. You never expected a new director to be appointed. Agency rogue elements still in control of the operation? No. Gina, and then we have in parentheses ex-UK division. Gina Haspel was the former station chief in London for the CIA. And then Q writes, Gina open attacks, because Snowden openly attacked Gina on Twitter. There is in brackets 3UD_HQ. What do you have left to sell Russia to retain your safety and security? Welcome home, Snowden. Q. So Snowden is coming home, and he is not going to be safe when he gets here. And Anon created a graphic of the two posts on Q by February 27 and an article about John Perry Barlow's death. Said proofs are important. Q responded to a previous post. Time in Russia, 8th is in brackets. Do you believe in coincidences? Intercepts are revealing. Q. All right. So this Anon, and I did not know this. I had to go to the board and figure this out. At the time of Q's February 7th post, which was at 17:39, 22 hours, posting it in Moscow, in Russia, the time would be 0:39 minutes and 32 seconds on the 8th. What was Snowden doing at that time? Because Q said intercepts can be revealing. So I think Q was letting us know there was somebody in Russia on the 8th at the time John Perry Barlow died, because it would have been the 8th in Russia, even though it was 7th in the United States. They intercepted some communications. And what that communications is, we don't know. That was on March 11th. It was T-8. And that is all I have on this update.